It's blazing hot outside, and I'm trying to figure out to myself, why am I already thinking about my fall garden, and how am I going to plant it? Well, we're going to help you figure that out today, too, because we're going to help each other figure it out.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening and give the information out for you to be successful in your garden, whether it's your first or your last. We are your hosts, Ben, the backyard gardener, and
Batavia, the front yard gardener.
one in the country,
One in the city.
and this podcast is a companion podcast to the upcoming documentary Backyard Gardens, a documentary about two families growing food for the first time in a world that lacks nutrition. All right, Batavia, are you ready to talk about fall gardening in July?
Yes, I'm ready to talk about fall gardening in July. For those that are listening and not watching, I have box number 28 with fall seeds in it. I am ready. Let's go.
Let's do this. So first of all, I want to say, as of right now, the podcast collectively has an Instagram feed called Backyard Gardens Pod, because, you know, everybody's got a backyard gardens. And we're going to be putting clips of the show, weekly tips, and all kinds of fun stuff, listener pictures of their gardens and everything. So hit us up on that. Give us a like, give us a follow. And if you want to show in your pictures, you can either DM us at Backyard Gardens Pod, or you can use the hashtag BYG Podcast. And we'll find it, and we'll put people's in our stories and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
just a nice community place where Batavia and I can be together and answer questions together, and everybody can be all in on the podcast. So
I'm excited about it.
yeah. Oh, and the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a place where you can find this, and it's going to be Backyard Gardens. Who knew it was available? So yeah, check us out on YouTube on Backyard Gardens. All of these full episodes will be posted on there, and we'll have clips and all that good stuff. So yeah. And can I say one more thing?
Is it we're going prime time, baby? No?
No,
Okay,
I want to make a public service announcement.
Okay, yeah, do a PSA.
So I had a situation yesterday.
Okay.
I got dehydrated in my garden.
Oh, no.
And had like a crazy migraine all afternoon as Batavia takes a sip of her water. That was unplanned. But, you know, when you guys are out there, just make sure that you're drinking water and you're staying cool, and, you know, work around the times of day that you can.
Yeah.
So,
And it could come on.
What happens. Go ahead.
It could come on without you kind of being aware of it. You just sometimes don't realize how much you sweat. And in some instances that could happen when you're not sweating at all. So yeah, definitely be safe out there.
Yeah, that's the thing about gardening, is it's safe. It seems like it's a safe thing, but actually it's kind of a little slice of hell if you think about it. Like, you're out there in the middle of summer burning up.
Yeah, it's
working.
It's not, in most cases, it's not strenuous, if you will. So you don't feel like, you know, you're burning a ton of calories, and, you know, you're not heave-hoing a lot, but that's a lot of concentrated heat on you, depending on what time of day you're out there. So,
Because where are our gardens? They're right in the sun.
Yeah. If you're fortunate, right? Yeah. Let's hope it is in the middle of the sun, at least for 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So you're feeling better then?
But yeah, I'm feeling better. You know, I drank a couple gallons of water. Well, not a couple. I drank like half a gallon of water and bounce back. You know, it happens every so often. Because, I mean, sometimes the heat just kind of catches up to you. You know what I mean? And I didn't even realize it. But see, this is the first year that I've gone totally bald.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? There's a reason why people have hair.
Oh, yeah.
It keeps the sweat from coming down. And I
Onto
was
your face,
pouring sweat, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I think it's an issue. And then like an hour later, it kind of caught up to me. And I was in the house at this point, but still.
Well, you know what?
And,
you mentioned that. So I, my garden uniform always has, it's a bandana. And it's a part of my garden uniform. And I don't know what I was doing. This was either yesterday or the day before, probably the day before. And I was outside, done my kind of garden chores in the morning. And then I wanted to go out to do one more thing. So I'd already taken my sweaty bandana off. I wasn't going to put it back on. I wasn't going to put on a new one. And so I went back outside. Oh, I was planting just the last few flowers. And I was just, like, sweat was rolling off into everything that you can imagine. Yeah. And I didn't realize, other than to come back into the house, how hot I was. Obviously the sweat was an indicator, but you know how like your face feels flushed. When I get back into the house where it wasn't, kind of baking, I realized like I was really, really hot. So I actually take garden breaks, water breaks, come in and get a glass of water, kind of get some cool air on you. And I also use it as a time to say, well, maybe I need to pick this up a little bit later, because once you're going in, once you're out there in it, sometimes you lose track of time and you don't realize, oh, that sun's moved a bit and got just a bit hotter. So,
and it's hard to come in and out of it too, constantly. And I will say this, like, please, for the love of God, don't drink Gatorade to try and hydrate yourself. Please. I promise you it's hurting you. It's the sugar in it is not for you. Yeah. Yes, you see football players doing it, but they're burning an abnormal amount of calories and they need the sugar for their blood to give oxygen and all this stuff. Please don't drink Gatorade. Yeah. Drink water or drink something else with electrolytes in it, but don't drink that, okay? Yeah. So that being said, fall. Are you looking forward to it, first of all? Or do you feel bad about looking forward to it?
Actually, I feel real good about it and I'm looking forward to it. And you know why? It is because I feel like I finally tamed summer for me. So it's in my mind, I had to get in it. It's not past, obviously, I haven't even gotten real harvest for my summer garden yet, but I've gotten my summer garden planted. And so now I feel like my mind can move on to the next thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I have, my biggest challenge is probably going to be fighting where do I put it, because I don't like to plant in between things. We've talked about this in a couple of episodes. That's more your style. But
interplanting.
Well, interplanting normally is when you're planting things generally all at the same time, but just based on different heights and all, right?
No.
Okay.
No, interplanting is what I do.
Okay.
Where you have something growing, but you plant something in it and, in a free space that's going to be available, stuff like that. Okay. So that's interplanting.
Yeah. So in that instance, then I've had to do that with some of my summer plants because I've been doing some, sowing some seeds that are near some transplants. So I'm getting ready to get that going for the fall. Now, obviously, things will be much more mature when that comes. But in my mind, I have a bit of a plan. And I'm a little bit more kind of loosey-goosey now. Like I kind of got my garden, gears on, and I'm not as, dare I say, anal coming into kind of settling into summer and thinking about fall. It's kind of like, by that time I'll have the good garden buzz. I'll be getting food from the garden and, Yeah. So I feel good about it. What about you?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I look forward to it because it's a different kind of crop to grow. Mm-hmm. But I don't get I'm not all depressed about thinking about it and stuff like that. I feel like it's just kind of like the planning process of a garden. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm like, all right, we got to hurry up and let these months go by. Like, that's not where it's at for me. Yeah. But, it's, I saw somebody, and we had already talked about doing this, but they had posted on Instagram the other day, is it too early yet to think about it? And I think that her poll was like 75% of the people said way too early. Mm-hmm. And of course, I was like, no, it's not too early yet, because if you're going to be starting seeds and stuff, now's the time to do it, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about. So yeah,
we should talk about that.
We will talk about that. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there's no point in thinking about it.
Yeah, well, no.
Like if you're just going to go buy transplants, don't start them now, whatever you do. Because you will have Bolt City. Mm-hmm.
Things are getting hot. We're actually, so this ends up, we'll be in July. And by then, zone 6 in Chicago, we should have true summer weather, but June it was pretty mild. I mean, days that were still in the 70s as a high, it's been humid, across June, but and
going back to the PSA, the humidity causes a big part of it too.
Really? Okay.
There is a difference between humid hot and non-humid hot. There's a complete difference.
Your body reacts differently to it.
Well, just the feel of it, and it sucks the water out of you. I mean, it just makes you sweat so much more. And it's hard to breathe. It can get hard to breathe if it's real thick. Yeah. So like when I go out in the morning, with the dew and everything, it's like 92% humidity, and it's like ugh. You feel like you're swimming in it.
It's funny when that first, just real quick, when the weather started to first transition like that, I ended up like kind of all year long, I'm looking at the weather all year long, right? And so once it gets to kind of summer, or summer is approaching, it's about getting out and beating the rain or beating the heat, right? There's always a race against whatever the weather is going to be that's going to prevent you from doing what you need to do. And so I've been looking at the temperatures, it's 55 degrees in the spring. Oh, it's 60 degrees. And that determines what my garden outfit looks like, right? What I put on to get outside. And so I got to the point where it's like, oh, it's 70 degrees. For me, that's actually that's a little bit cool, right? So I'm like, oh, I can put on a short sleeve t-shirt or something, and maybe even some long pants. And so then I walked outside and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a different kind of 70 degrees, right? So when you fold in some of that humidity, it's different, right? So I'm like, okay,
that's a big difference.
Now I can just dress based on feel versus like what the actual, weather app says. So. Anyhow.
Well, it's like I always say, trying to take it back to the old school. People just walked outside and said, yep, it's a little chilly. I'm going to throw a sweater on today and get out there and work. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So anyways, on to the subject. What do you think are fall vegetables to plant?
Oh, let's see. I'm going to say my vegetable arch nemesis. Anything that's a root vegetable. Well, a lot of things that are root vegetables. So it could be, for me, parsnips. No, I won't do that. Things like beets, which I plan on planting. I think that, acquired taste. I think that you can.
They're beautiful though.
Yeah.
They're a beautiful plant.
Yeah.
They really are. I've seen a lot of people.
Them, yeah.
Yeah, there really is. But man, I can't.
Have you ever had them roasted?
Yeah. No, I take it back. There was I do juicing before I run races and stuff like that. And I have a juice that I make that's beets and orange.
Yeah. That's still kind of tough, yeah.
If you put a little bit extra orange in it, it's not bad. But I tested it out for like 2 months or something, and it was crazy how much better your fitness is, like how much better your body works when you're doing something like running or something, because beets move oxygen to your blood way easier.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, but other than like, I would never just like roast a beet.
It's definitely a strong flavor, right? So you can come back around with some leafy greens like spinach is a fall veggie. Do you think carrots are fall? Or is that just a matter of when they're harvested?
No, you have to plant them a little bit early. So, I like right now, I did my last sowing of carrots like a month ago, maybe a couple weeks ago. I don't remember. And then we'll wait like a month or two and then we'll plant another one, but you can't do it like you can in the spring where you can kind of like ease it. You got to get them all in.
Yeah.
So that they're definitely, because they actually in the cooler weather, they're sweeter.
So they say.
Well, I've so many people have said so, and so many people that I've talked to and like people that grow for a living have said so that I have to believe it. You know what I mean?
This is the same thing about collards, about kale, about how once that frost hits them, that they get sweeter. And carrots, I definitely can. Them being sweeter resonates with me, But when it comes to those other veggies, like I would never describe them as sweet. And so that's the reason why I'm kind of sarcastic. Like, yeah, they've said,
Yeah, like sweet collards.
Yeah.
Never had a sweet collard.
There's no recipe. And I've had a few different recipes with collards in them. And there's never a part of it that's designed to be sweet, or any part of it.
Now they might be, maybe they're more tender.
Yeah. That's actually a good way to look at it. Yeah. I would say I could go with that. I don't know if I would describe mine as more tender. I was just thinking about whether or not I want to do a true experiment. Like we said before, it's just really hard. I guess I would have to like make a batch of collards, like traditional Southern collards, maybe freeze them, then make another batch after the frost. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we're just going to go with what they say.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because I mean, basically anything you plant in the spring can be planted in the fall. It's just a little bit more tricky getting them in.
Yeah. I have to turn all of my ringtones off. I finally have everything charged, and now it's like, oh, everything's charged. So
yeah.
I was actually going to ask that. Do you feel like anything that you could plant in the spring could be considered a fall vegetable? Because really it's about the coolness of the temperatures that you're headed into, right?
Yes, I think so. But like I said, I think it's a little bit more tricky. So it's, it's like when you plant a seed in the garden in the spring, it's looking for that cool weather to grow. And it starts cool and it gets warmer. So it's like the natural progression. Yeah. So I feel like what we do in the fall is kind of tricking nature a little bit. You know what I mean? Because like lettuce, if lettuce gets hot, it bolts. End of story. Like it's just Dunsky. So you got to kind of get it,
I'd say, let me jump in. I'd say that it's a little bit more tricky and a little bit more difficult. And I've not really successfully had a spring or a fall garden. I'm just kind of applying my general garden experience and thoughts around this. Is while you're not necessarily trying to beat the summer in your spring garden, right? But in the fall garden, there are some things that, like we've talked about, that will be fine with a little bit of chill and frost. But there are other things that you're planting that are a little bit more tender. That's not the word I wanted to use, but a little bit more delicate, maybe, that cold weather won't agree with, So at that point, for me at least, it's you want to get your veggies to a certain level of maturity and, the ability to harvest before that cold weather comes in.
Right.
So timing becomes more important, maybe, you think, for fall.
Yes, timing is very important. So the way it works, I'm going to break it down like a fraction for you. So what happens is when, let's say you're growing tomatoes, right?
I am.
It gets to 40 degrees.
Let's say that, yes. Let's say that.
They don't do well in 40 degrees. They're holding on. They got their fingernails dug in, falling off the cliff, right? But then you go and then you have lettuce next to it at 40 degrees. It's booming.
Yeah.
It's happy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the trick. So you're not really tricking summer to plant. You're kind of tricking the plant itself by keeping it cool, giving it a head start, and then getting it in the ground at the right time so it can be mature enough. Because even though some of these crops like the cold weather, they don't continue to grow at the cold weather. Yep. So they'll still be good. They won't die, and they will grow, but it'll be much slower. Yeah. So you've got to get them to a certain point before that cool weather comes.
Yeah, it's almost like your live refrigerator to a degree, right? There's a part of what you're doing once it gets kind of right butting up against fall to maybe even winter, once those temps are, for me, going below freezing even, like you're almost storing vegetables because they're going to be dormant by that time, right? So
most of them are, yeah.
So the amount of growth is almost nil. Now you go back to your tomato example. So there's that whole, can it survive or not? Right. So that's kind of where you can cut off if it's a summer veggie or not. And then for the fall, the part that I find challenging is the time to start, the conditions to start the veggie in, and then the condition that it's going to thrive in the fall. Right.
Did you hear that?
Here we go. I think I heard
Did you hear the segue? That was a good one.
Yeah. I just stepped all over like the,
That was a good one. That was a good one. I'll give it to you. No, and that is the trick. So, first of all, I know if you listen to this podcast regularly, you're going to be like, damn, Ben, why you always bring this shit up? The extension service.
No. This is one of my favorites. Go ahead. Bring that shit up.
The extension service for your state is a beautiful resource and you pay for it. I'm pretty sure your taxes pay for it. So take advantage of it because they will literally tell you every single thing that you need to have to start a successful garden. And I mean, that's literally their job.
Yeah.
They're master gardeners that are there to do that. And once you find that, it takes so much guesswork out. So, because you can look at the back of the seed packs, but come on, man.
I've become a religious look at the back of the seed package person.
For sure. I look at it too. It's data that's there, but at the same time, you have to understand, we're talking about fall gardens. For me in the fall, my weather can be, it can go either way, but usually it's 85 degrees all the way until October 1st.
Okay.
And even, last year at Halloween, for instance, it was, I think, 82 degrees when we went trick-or-treating. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, that being said,
it was
that seed packet.
It was the hottest
doesn't know that.
Halloween for us, too, but that was very abnormal, right? So,
well, see, this is very normal for us.
So for me, my weather kind of goes, we talked about this a bit, maybe even offline, where the heat creeps, so coming out of May into June, we're kind of going up the slope. And then we get to that peak around July, August, where it's really, really, really warm. And then it starts to decline, where September is still summer, clearly, right, for us. But that weather starts to become questionable. That weather looks more like May. It could be super hot or it could start to get cool. Now, generally, and I think for my notes, I've not seen frost in the beginning of October. My last frost date is October 29th. But that goes back to what kind of weather are you really going to have? Is it going to be hot enough to bring some of those summer vegetables to their last dance? Is it going to be too hot? That's going to lead to some bolting of some of those fall vegetables that are coming in, namely lettuces and such. So,
well, and some of the tender vegetables too, even though like I said, my Halloween can be so warm, there will be nights, maybe not many, but a few nights that will, get to 60s, 50,
That's a good
something
note.
like that. And then the problem is though, they're so tender. That's it. They're done. You know what I mean? They're not done, but they start dropping flowers. And, once you drop flowers, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because then you just have
that's
greenery.
all she wrote.
Yeah. Well, even if you think about keeping an eye on things a big rain comes in and then you get a cold night, so you have to be careful around that, mostly around leafy greens. So I think that I'm going to look forward to gaining some more experience with gardening, kind of being back at the beginning of managing a garden in your Septembers and your Octobers, because at that point I'm in full, I'm really getting the thrust, if you will, of my harvest for my summer garden then. So it's going to take some additional attention to make sure I'm paying attention to what's going to be now the baby veggies, so.
Yeah. So, and the one way to do is, and the reason why this episode is coming out now, it's not because we're like, screw summer, we're done with it, I don't want any more. It's because now is really, depending on where you are, you're getting into the time where you should start your seeds indoors. And I know people are like, oh my gosh, I got to start seeds indoors again. Are you kidding me? But it's really, if you want to be successful in your backyard garden, that's the best way to, or front yard garden if you're Batavia, but we won't talk about that in public. But that's really the best way to do it because you get a head start. And let's say that this is your first year gardening, right? and you had maybe you got a little late start and you got your spring garden in, but now you know how those things grow. So you get another shot at growing them again. And that's the beautiful part of it. Man, you get a whole nother chance to try these certain vegetables out.
Yeah. And apply the lessons learned from the spring, or if you miss the spring garden, here it is, an opportunity to grow a different kind of veggie than what you have in your summer garden. So my eyes kind of brighten up when you kind of describe it that way. That's what I'm really looking forward to. So
yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like as I look around and I read stuff, I truly think people love growing their tomatoes and peppers, squash, and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, I really think people enjoy growing their spring vegetables more. And I think that I think one of the reasons is, and it's just an observation that I've had, I have no clue, but a lot of people I talk to, they really enjoy the lettuces and broccolis and cauliflowers, but there's so much more variety that you can grow in the spring. It's pretty interesting if you think about it. Like you can grow different kinds of tomatoes, but you don't, you got lettuce, collards, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, radish, spinach, bok choy. You got all these different things that you can grow in the fall. And then once your fall garden's done, then you can even plant something in the winter to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for overwintering, perhaps. My favorite.
Garlic?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think that what I've seen people say about spring gardens is the conditions are just more comfortable to garden in. Just even physically, right? So generally you won't have an opportunity to get dehydrated, in the spring in your spring garden.
Right.
But in the spring, there are not so many pests, right? They haven't come out of hibernation compared to the middle of summer. Now, I do wonder, I have to put my thinking cap on, when you're looking at the fall, though, some bugs obviously and pests have migrated, but are you still dealing with kind of the pests from the summer that are still kind of, jumping on your fall veggies? I don't know. What do you think?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Well, see, and I mean, again, my weather, it's literally like it goes to a cliff. It goes all the way hot, boom.
Yeah.
And then it'll kind of level off and do it again, I mean, straight up, I know this isn't a good analogy, but like my weather around here is like straight up coronavirus numbers. It just goes up, steep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but no, I think that it does, you do. But see, I get a whole new pest in the fall and winter.
Oh, okay. What's that?
I get deer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not really having a lot to eat around. So they start, and I've noticed last year, they really were more active the later in the summer and the fall. But, because as of never mind. Not even going to say it.
Yeah. So I actually wondered that with you guys being so close to the woods. All right, let me take a direct transition. Why are you going to start seeds indoors versus direct sowing seeds in your garden for fall?
Okay. Do you not know this, or are you just playing the game?
No, I don't know this.
Okay. So for me, it's so hot, right? So if I direct sow into my garden, and there's some things you can direct sow, but the reason why I'm starting seeds is because I can get a head start. So I can do one seeding, I can put my transplants out, and then I can do a succession seeding afterwards. But also because of the heat. So you want to make sure, because I mean, you can plant lettuce right now and it will grow, but it's just going to go straight up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not going to do anything. So you kind of want to get a head start on it.
So you're controlling the temperature, so to speak, in that instance.
Well, if it's in your house, it's comfortable. Yeah. It's a comfortable. So like in my house in the summertime, it's warmer than in the wintertime inside. So I'll probably have much higher germination rates.
That's a good note.
Inside are much faster, because I'm a cheap bastard. I turn my heat way down in the wintertime. I told my wife, I was like, you can either have blankets or you can have no blankets. And she was like, I like blankets. And I was like, there you go. So she's just got this like, she loves blankets. Sorry, baby, if you're listening to this, I still love you. But
We have to make hard choices in life, right?
You do.
So is it anything to do with space? Not having space in the garden, letting other veggies finish out?
Well, yeah. I mean, like right now, I'm in the middle of my summer season. Things are still growing. I'm still harvesting every day. So, yeah, there's not a lot of space, but I don't want to pile stuff in. And the other problem, too, is in the summertime, it's so hot. And it's like this all over the country. I mean, it's except for Maine, probably. And all you guys in Maine, I love you. You guys are awesome. But it gets kind of cool up there. But you can't keep the ground moist enough for the seeds to germinate. It's really, I mean, you can, but if you're trying to intermix with all your summer, you can kind of mess things up a little bit. You can introduce other diseases and stuff like that by keeping it moist like that. So it's just easier to do it that way. And it's just always, and then once again, you get another, shot at starting seeds inside. So then, because really the big push is, and for me, is the spring, getting stuff out in the spring. Like if I don't get a fall garden, my heart's not going to be like broken. You know what I mean? But like if my spring garden, I would probably cry myself to sleep if like everything just kind of failed. You know what I mean? Like all that work you did all winter.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I know you would.
Yeah. Well, of course I'd cry.
Kale.
Oh yeah.
Kale.
Collards, cabbage. Yeah. So I think I'm going to stand on, I'm going to direct sow as much as I can. I loved my grow room this summer, or this winter, I should say, coming into spring. But I don't want to go back to it really until end of this year, next year. Right? Like I love being outside, I love being out in the garden. I am, as of this recording, I'm at the point where I'm like looking at my list 2 or 3 times, like what other projects do I have? And it's like, well, you really don't have any more projects. You've put those, rocks on the side of the fence. You're done. Like, just enjoy it. Right. And so I'm going out as early as possible so I can just be in the garden. So I'm hoping not to have to man a second space, a grow room. I will think about it when it comes to some lettuces. Truth moment, I did start lettuce in June, the air quote heat tolerant variety, and we'll see. The seeds are just so reasonably priced. Drop a few seeds. If I get a couple of, servings of lettuce off of it before it bolts, then it is what it is. I did have that experience a bit last year. Not using heat tolerant varieties, but anywho, I may start some lettuce indoors. I may. But the rest of this stuff, I don't want to go from 14 beds to down a flight of stairs to making sure my lights are turned on. Well,
you got to think too, there's a difference in the wintertime because you're hyper focused on that. And you probably, if I had to guess, spent a little too much time down there. Knowing you, I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Looking around it's possible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I dive into the thing, right? And so the thing now is the outside gardens. And I feel like it's almost dividing my attention. But again, this comes from a place of no experience with a fall garden. So this is really me perhaps not even doing what's best, but just kind of doing what I want to do. And we know that some things I direct sow, I was about to start pounding. Some things that I direct sow will be, you feel yourself. I feel myself, boil, blood bubbling. Will be fine, but this comes also from a place from you where I know your tagline might as well be, the most productive garden you could make. So yeah. Listen to...
That is a pretty good tagline, isn't it?
It is. Listen to Ben, guys and gals.
Yeah, listen to Ben because he knows everything.
Well, no.
Not quite.
I guess what I'm setting you up for is don't do what I'm going to do. Listen to Ben. Yeah. I may or may not,
Well, let me tell you how my progression has been in the fall gardening.
Oh, yeah,
space.
I'm interested in this.
Yeah, so you guys have to remember, I believe I was in zone 5 for a while. So that's like cool weather vegetable heaven, right? And I fought it for a long time. And then finally one year I picked up a couple transplants and I stuck them in the ground and bada bing, bada boom. But see, now you have to remember too is when you're from somewhere, like I'm from North Carolina, I was just living up there for a period of time. My body I think I lived up there for 11 years, maybe 10 years. Yeah, no, 10 years. My body was always used to the weather I grew up in. So like February here, we start having 70, 80 degree days sometimes. But up there, I mean, it was, below zero. So I always was fighting that. So mentally, I could never catch on to the timing to put it in. And this was a time when, the internet, it was real big, but there wasn't as much
pre-internet? Is this what you know?
No. But there wasn't as much information out there. A lot of the websites that we're using now, they're being added to in the past 5 years pretty readily. So this was kind of before that a little bit. And I mean, I could have found stuff if I had put more effort. Anyways, so then I came here and, this is my 3rd year with this garden. And it was like, I'm going to do this. And I put a couple more transplants in and I was a little bit more successful. Yeah. And then last year I put even more in and I put in like a bunch of broccoli in and a bunch of cabbage, and all winter it didn't do anything, but it never died, ever died. It just sat there. And then what do you know? It started to get warm again and it started to grow. And then I started harvesting it. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? So it's been like a slow, gradual process. So now I have it in my head that, and our winters down here, like even when I was a kid, it can either be really cold within reason, Like, I mean, it seems like when I was a kid, we used to get ice storms all the time. And now we don't get anything.
Yeah, but tropical storms are a thing.
Oh, well, yeah, hurricanes are every year, tropical storms. But in the wintertime, we get like ice storms, maybe a little bit of snow. But now, like, you don't really get that. So it's like every couple of years, it's like really cold and then it's really warm for a couple of years, it seems like. So that being said, I have this sneaking suspicion that I can grow stuff, and it might not grow as heavily in January, but it won't totally die back.
Yeah.
Some stuff won't. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I'm growing parsnips now.
How are they coming?
And I can just, they're coming.
Okay. I saw you sow those seeds, slow. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, they're starting to come up now. And I know that you have to start because they take a long time to grow.
Well, I'm sorry.
So that being...
Just one moment. One would say it could take 105 days minimally.
Yeah. That's it. And those are the same ones that you sent me. So 105 days, that's a long time to grow a parsnip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and actually I should probably start another batch now because I really want to have a lot of them. But that's just kind of how it's progressed. And then this year, like I tried to start seeds outside one year in seed pots, not in the garden.
Okay.
And it was a massive failure.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just the watering of it was too much. You know what I mean? So this year it's starting in, and I know I can start seeds indoors. So the big hurdle for me is going to be getting it out and keeping it protected in the heat. And that's where that interplanting method is going to come in, where, because we've stated before, lettuce can grow in a lower light level.
Yeah.
Lower exposure to light. So I can plant it right under some of that stuff. So
I was just thinking about this because I have, in June had some experience. So and it's a blessing if this is the only issue I'll have with pests. The roly-polies have just been dancing all over my garden. And, every time you think you face an obstacle, you try to figure out, like you're dissecting it, no pun intended for the roly-polies. And I'm wondering if just by default, remember, I've only been using wood chips for mulch for a couple of garden seasons. So I'm wondering if me like going full in, adding all these wood chips, right? It's created this habitat for them. Where last year, maybe the year before, I just didn't get the wood chips in time and my garden was more mature. So I say that to say, I was looking back at the, some beans that, like bush beans that I started in June, and I'm just watching them get literally eaten up, germinate, much away. And so I ended up moving out the wood chips, brushing them aside. And then, which is funny because that was actually a lesson learned when it came to mulching. Just maybe, intuitively, I would plant seeds on bare soil, let things germinate. Once things germinate, I would then add mulch in. I think then I was doing it because I wanted to make sure I could see the seeds germinate, but it worked out in my favor. So now I'm basically digging holes to, drop seeds and in the middle of these wood chips. So anyway, I bring that up to say, you start to think about how mature a plant is that you're going to put into your fall garden. So having a transplant, whether you buy it from the store or you pull it from under your grow lights, chances are that plant's going to be a level of mature, right? It's a seedling still. You're transplanting it from wherever that space is to your garden, but it has a better chance at fighting off whatever it is that's, whatever garden pest that's going to be in your garden area versus dropping a seed and then that seed germinating and growing up. So I'm getting closer to perhaps thinking about germinating more indoors, but still people do it.
So
listen to Ben.
Are you
don't do what I do.
Well, no, I'm just saying, are you sure that it's the roly-polies eating your green beans?
Oh, absolutely positive. I'm literally in my garden walk watching them, because they normally do this overnight, right? So
right.
I'm like 5:30 in the morning looking at early breakfast, huh? So yeah, I'm positive it's the roly-polies.
Well, so I have the wood chips too. And I have an abnormal amount of roly-polies in there, and I have no real damage from them. I did have something come through and nibble at my bush beans a couple times. I don't think it was the roly-polies. And I guess pill bugs is the correct word. Does that sound right?
Another, AKA pill bugs. Yeah, there's like two other versions of it. Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, man. There is no such thing as a pill bug. It's a damn roly-poly.
There are like two other names for it too. Yeah. Because what do? Touch it and
they roly-poly. I mean, what did you do when you were a kid? That's like every kid's favorite bug.
Yeah.
So,
but I said that to say
anyways.
The reason why, because I did some research on it because I was like, well, damn, because I've seen them over the years in my garden and not had trouble with it. Yeah, I've seen them last year eat at some of the kind of damp strawberries that were kind of buried, and that's, it is what it is. But when I was reading on it, it is the damp conditions of the wood chips. So think about when you're watering and that those wood chips are, in part, that's what they're supposed to do, right? Retain
they're
moisture.
Helping it decompose.
Yeah, that too, right? But also they target younger plants. So I have half a dozen other beds that have wood chips in them. And I'm sure there are roly-polies that could go to those, but the plants are a little bit more mature, right? So my tomato plants are knee high now. My pepper plants they're big girls and boys. So the only trouble I've seen with these roly-polies are literally a bean seed germinating and it eating the leaves. I saw it a little bit with, I can't say for sure if this is roly-polies. I saw it a little bit with some of my melon plants that I direct sowed. I just saw that they were eaten up. I can't say for sure it was roly-polies, but I saw it in, action with my cucumber plants too. And they were a little bit young and a little bit sickly too when I transplanted them. But anywho, I bring it up because I start to think about, direct sowing in the midst of summer is when you're going to be basically direct sowing your fall garden if you direct sow. And, now you potentially are combating kind of bugs and insects that aren't beneficial in the garden. So I guess that's an argument for some things may be better off if you start indoors. It's a long way around.
So I'm going to come back at you with something though. I planted the, I think it was the winter squash I put down. And when you plant in your garden, do you take and you clear out a little ring around where you're going to put the seed and put it in the soil? So I did the same thing, and I promise you, not 6 inches from it, there was like 30 roly-polies. And I was like, okay, this is what we call an infestation. This is, and I was thinking to myself, this is really odd. And then I kind of figured out, okay, well, it's decomposing matter. They're helping it decompose because I don't really like using the wood chips as much. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So I was like, I'm not going to mess with them. I haven't had any issues. No issues at all. So I don't know.
It was winter squash again? You said winter
squash and zucchini. But that being said, I did have something. The only thing I had issue direct sowing was my my beans and specifically my bush beans. And whatever it was like it just came across and just kind of munched on them. But I don't know, man. Are you thinking it's another
bug? Some other insect? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Because I've read, and, a lot of people, it's like 70-30. Like 70% of the people say roly-polies aren't an issue. And then 30% of the people say roly-polies are an issue if they're really bad, like a whole lot of them. But then I haven't seen like, well, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing? Like, nobody has really come out and said like, well, they do this, and I think the big thing is once it's like everything, you have to keep them happy with what they're eating. So like, if they're eating that wood, make sure that wood's in there for this year.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let me say this. I mean, I feel good about it being the roly-poly. So I didn't have a magnifying glass, and I didn't like see the roly-poly chewing my bush bean or my cucumber leaves. But I came out, saw bites literally taken out of them. I have a picture on, it's a short video, like 15 seconds on Instagram, where I'm showing like a plant that's been eaten. Now, to your point, it could have been roly-polies are coming around and it's the after party, and like something else overnight ate it. It could be that. And there's no way for me to know for sure. What I do know is I've come out a few mornings, 3 or 4 mornings, and I've seen the damage, and I've seen 3 or 4 roly-polies on the plant itself and around the plant. So it's a full-on party. And that's the reason why I'm accusing them of this crime. So
that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on it, and I've never had this issue before. I've had a lot of issues in my garden, but I've never had as many roly-polies as I have, and I still haven't found much, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But, and that's something to think about too for your fall planting is should you direct sow that in there? Like, I feel like it would be better to have a more healthy, hardy plant to put in that spot.
Yeah. Which is the reason why I bring up, in some instances, there are going to be some things that I have some dragon tail radish beans. It's like a long skinny bean. And I'm calling this my fall garden, whether I should or shouldn't, because the next time I can harvest it is, this is what it looks like, is August. Okay. It's purple. I know you love that. August and September, right? 50 days to harvest. I'm going to be harvesting like right when fall comes. And this is a bean. And so I don't want to start this indoors, so they don't give you many seeds in this package. That's another story. That would be something that I definitely direct sow compared to any number of the lettuces that I have here. And
you're talking about 2 different things now, though.
Okay, what 2 different things am I talking about?
Beans are meant to be sowed outside.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So some things just shouldn't be sowed outside.
Yeah, so finishing my sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Versus any number of lettuces that I have. I'm looking into my package of my fall seeds. Any number of lettuces that I have here, I know I can start those indoors. Now, spinach, let me ask you. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen people start spinach inside. What do you do? I just want to just dump a whole bunch of seeds out and just let it go.
I start them inside.
Do you?
And then when I plant them, the same day I plant them, I plant some in between them. And then you just can continue planting them. But man, let me talk about spinach for a second.
Go. Why do I not see these landmines? Like, where's the tightrope that I'm walking on? Yeah.
Well, if you cook spinach, how much do you use to cook?
I don't normally cook spinach because of where you're headed. You probably need easily, like if you look at it in the stores, a bag of spinach. So that's like
one meal.
Yeah, a 16 for me, right? Basically for like a person, a 16-ounce bag or something.
So it kind of makes me upset because I really like cooked spinach.
Yeah.
And we use spinach in a lot of things. Like I would say literally almost 60% of our meals we eat spinach. At least, because it's something that you can add a vegetable in, not overpowering flavor. And especially like my son, like I can sneak it in, and I mean, he'll eat it anyways, but I sneak it in some other stuff just to get a little bit more in. So it's like, you got to plant a lot of spinach.
Well, I actually have some thoughts around that. It kind of angers me too, and this is even outside of our individual gardens. It's, for me, like I'll have, spinach when I'm out at a restaurant or something cooked, because it's just the dollar amount you need to pay to buy spinach in a store to come home and cook it. It just doesn't, So I normally...
You're setting up a minefield.
Yeah,
woman.
I know. So I normally will eat it, kind of raw. If I have like a full meal and I'm like a soup or something, I'll, throw a couple of handfuls in. I'll use it for smoothies, never for juicing, but for smoothies. So, I think generally it's a super duper easy thing to grow. But you're right. Like in my mind, my plan, I'm trying to figure it out, and we could talk about it here because it's fall gardening. I'm trying to figure out how to not accidentally, but intentionally overwinter spinach again. I loved having it in the spring. And I don't want to hear planted in the spring.
Cover it.
Yeah. So, but the places I want to plant it, what I'm envisioning is the two long beds in the front yard. They're 10 feet by like 3 feet.
Well, hold on. I don't want to go down the winter road yet.
Okay.
Because that makes me sad.
Okay. All right. Let's pretend. Well, yeah, I can't pretend that. All right.
No, we'll do that in a couple episodes though, because that does need to be, I think that does need to be talked about. And I remember I told you I have a plan for you.
Oh yeah.
That you need to execute.
Okay.
So,
all right. So another question then, when it comes to fall, do you do anything intentional when it comes to your planting fall veggies by certain summer veggies?
No, not really in the past, but that's probably going to change this year because, and it depends on when they go in and the status of the plant. So usually like last year, my eggplants, I literally left eggplants in the ground, and it was like 3 eggplants I was waiting to ripen for, I would say 3 weeks. And usually it's like every 2 days. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was just like holding on by a thread. And so this year, like, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Like it's got to go. So that being said, I think that will help fix a lot of that. But there's probably going to be some things that might be companion plantings, might not be companion plantings, that might be combative, that when I go and I've got the whole plan laid out, but I need to go through and look at what's in the ground now, and then kind of see like if it's some kind of like soil-borne disease that they could be susceptible to, but then I wouldn't want to put it in the same one because that plant's been there. But if it's some kind of like insect and I know that it's going to be out soon, like I'm not really overly worried about it as much. Yeah. So there might be a couple things, and I'm not going to put too much effort into that, to be honest, because most things are going to come out as soon as they go in. So it's mostly the soil-borne diseases, because, man, those things are tough.
Yeah, once it catches you. So when I do my garden morning walks, especially this week, when I've had less garden chores to do, because I've been working hours in the morning before my real work, my real job that pays for all of these seeds, and I've been like busy right up until like it's starting time, right? And now I have a bit more room in the mornings, which is there are a couple of feelings I have about it, but we'll go through our garden therapy in our next garden update. But what it gave me a chance to think about when we were talking about being productive in the garden, and specifically making choices about vegetables once they've kind of passed their peak for producing. And so at this point, I have so many more tomato plants than I've ever had in my garden at the same time. And I don't want to be presumptuous. My hope is that they will all stay healthy, that they'll all produce. If that's the case, it does give me an opportunity to make some decisions later in the fall to clear room for some of the veggies that I want to plant for a fall garden. So I said that to say, like, this is like the babyest step. This is like a pinky toe step towards that kind of different thinking for gardening for me. And I am like leaning backwards and then leaning my pinky toe forward, getting there. Because it's a complete change when it comes to the way I approach things in the garden. But I can absolutely see the benefit from it. Because what I've been thinking about, and I did this last year, it was kind of like, well, do you leave a space open? It's pouring down raining here. Like, hey, just so you know. Do you leave a space open for all of these fall plantings? And in part, there are a couple of spaces, a couple of pockets where I know I can like plant some veggies for the fall, but there are also some spaces where I'm just like, okay, I can imagine myself getting X months of harvest out of this. By August, this thing is going to be riddled with aphids, right? You know, pull the plant girl. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I have some thoughts in mind when it comes to how to make the most out of the space and also get a whole other season of vegetables out of this, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, you're going to have so many tomatoes, you're going to be like, ugh. You might not even grow tomatoes next year.
Don't say it. That's a swear word. The nastiest of swear words.
It is. I should put soap in my mouth right now. But no, you will have space to clear out, and you won't feel as bad. And I think, and that kind of leads me back to where I said, like, spring gardens can be a lot more fun because think about all the tomato plants you planted. What else would you have put in those spots? Yeah.
That's a lot of space, like, too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of space. So if you think about it, it's like, you know, I guess what you could really do is, and I mean, I'm old school, man. You know how I am. I'm old school. I don't grow that crazy ass shit. I like my vegetables that I know how they're gonna be. I like them. I'm gonna eat them. And I'm good. You know what I mean? That being said, I might grow, you know, because I like to look at different things too. Mm-hmm. So I was looking in my garden this year and I was like, man, there's a lot of things in here that are just kind of the same. So maybe next year I'll kind of spice it up a little bit. Maybe. Yeah. Again, don't take my word for it. Don't even write it down in your book because it probably won't happen.
You know that I listen to this episode as I do each episode. And I do make notes.
And you're going to send me this.
Yeah. Okay.
You're going to send me this. I know what you're going to do.
I do want to declare and you touched on this earlier, but you described it as your spring garden. And then you have a chance to grow those veggies again if you want. Some of those in the fall. Mm-hmm. This also could be
all of them.
Yeah, if you want. Yeah. So this also can be a test of what you may want to grow in your next year's spring garden, right? You know,
for me,
not you. And I already know you got your 12 veggies. That's it. That's all. I'm talking to the audience.
No, actually, I do have something special.
Oh, surprise, surprise. Could this be?
Yeah, surprise.
Can I take credit for it? Absolutely. I'm rubbing it off. I don't even know what it is. I assume it's good and it's because of me.
Do you want me to say what it is?
Please.
I'm going to grow purple cauliflower.
Get out of here.
You know what? Wait, stop.
Nope.
You want to know why?
No.
You want to know why?
I do want to know why, but I want to acknowledge that I should absolutely be shocked and anyone listening should be shocked. And don't try to take that shock away from us. Who are you?
I know. There's an alien inside of my body.
Goodness.
No, because it apparently it holds its color when it's cooked.
Oh.
Apparently.
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay.
So, and I actually don't like cauliflower either that much, but there is one thing that I like with it.
Yeah.
It is a double whammy, but there are like one or two things that I like with it, and they're not healthy at all. But that's so we're gonna I'm gonna do cauliflower. And plus the other thing too is like the way I have everything set up for the fall is like I have a bunch of broccoli. Mm-hmm. But there might be a time where you get tired of eating broccoli.
Oh, look, that's actually a really good question. Are you starting broccoli indoors?
Mm-hmm. Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely the thing. Let me write this down on my phone. I'm going to start indoors. Because I've tried to sow broccoli this is the second year. and not so much luck.
You want me to
give you a list?
You want me to break it down for a fraction?
Yeah.
Like a fraction?
Yes, please.
So,
Go ahead.
So if you buy a transplant at the store, right? So you're asking me, should I start them indoors or should I start them outdoors? Well, if you start them outdoors and they fail, what are you going to go do?
I'm going to buy it in the store.
And how are they started in the store?
Indoors.
So you're going to be buying the same thing that you could be doing at home. You know what I mean? Like, that's one way to think about it, is like, you know, because some people be like, well, go ahead.
I get it. I think if we rewind, insert the rewind sound. You're not going to catch me with that clip again. That's it. Finally, episode 45. We get it. So I understand it. I am a big fan of, as of year one, my first year of sowing seeds indoors, I want to sow all of things indoors. I was looking at my zinnias and I was like, I literally was counting, like, I think maybe I could start like 100 zinnias. You know, this is what happens when I don't have garden projects in the morning. I could sow 100 zinnias next year. And so I get it. All I'm saying is my mind and my body and my garden heart has transitioned to outside. And so I don't want it to be like I'm kicking and screaming, but it's going to be a hard transition back in my mind. Right.
That's what this whole episode is about. That right there.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, exactly. We you know, again, we don't talk
That's
about
the whole thing that this is about.
We don't talk about the details of the episode, but the concept really was like, I know it's the middle of summer. I know you don't really want to think about fall. You don't want to feel like you've given up on summer, but hey, put some time and energy and effort into it. And I'm planning on doing that, but you're now asking and suggesting a thing that I don't want to do. Plainly put, I'm being hard-headed, right? I see the value.
But here's the deal, though. If you do the work now, you already want to beat the heat. So beat the heat a little bit, and then you can enjoy it outside even longer. Mm-hmm. Boom.
Is it time for the recipe of the day? Like, where's the... So if you guys are listening...
You know I have a point.
So if you guys are listening to, you know, multiple episodes, we thank you. And you may see a theme, like, obviously, you know, Ben Gardens with an iron fist, you know...
No, I don't.
It takes me a minute to come around, and I don't always come around.
No.
But when I do, like putting my 88 peppers around my 99 tomato plants, I see the value in it. It's super important for gardening to be enjoyable for me. And I am, I'm a bit... should I say risk adverse? Like, if I am interpreting this thing as I'm enjoying what we're doing now, and now you're introducing something that in my mind I'm not ready to do, like go back to the grow room, there's pause here. And it's like, okay, let's baby step this thing out. Again, back to our buddy Bill Murray.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to plant a bunch of seeds in my fall garden that like to be direct sowed. And we'll get back to being in the grow room 3 or 4 times a year next year. Yeah, I'm gonna start some stuff. Broccoli actually tossed. Broccoli
So
pushed me over. All
you
of
went,
that, yeah.
You went through all of that speech right there. That was an award-winning
Absolutely,
speech.
Man. Absolutely.
And then you just totally like wipe it all out with one quick statement and try to gloss over it.
I started the speech knowing, but I was just I didn't want to appear wishy-washy, I guess. So I wanted to give you this whole diatribe as to why this is difficult for me and why I spent 35 minutes saying never.
Well, you know, and for me too, it is difficult for me. It's not like I love it, and I'm with you. Like, if I didn't like gardening, I would roll the carpet up and be done. Yeah. You know, I don't do anything in my garden I don't want to do. If there's something I don't like, if there's a bug chewing on it and I don't feel like having at it, like, I just let the bug have it. You know what I mean? Like, if it's just too something,
roll the carpet
you know
up
what I
and
mean?
be done. It's like the funniest thing to me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like I would just be done. So I agree with you, and I mean that's the part that I enjoy about it, though. You know, and that's the thing about everybody's garden is that everybody enjoys something different about their garden.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy the changes and stuff like that. So I mean, and we haven't even begun to talk about what my plans are for next spring. If everything goes according to plan, it's going to be monumental. And we're going to have to change the name of the podcast.
Well, that's the thing. That's the reason. That
it took you a minute to register that
may
one.
have been that moment of when you're like listening to speak and not listening to listen. So I apologize for that. And so my brain said, no, go back, listen again to what he said. I got chill bumps when I really heard it. But that's also a part of my pause, right? Because my mind is all into summer and I'm super excited about what I've pulled off here. And I'm already thinking about kind of how to make improvements and what to do next year. And what you're introducing here, and we've talked about this, what you're introducing here is, oh, wait, you're not done with this leg of the race. You know, it's like they just canceled the New York marathon in Illinois, in the States. And, you know, you're running this race now, or you have plans on it, but now you got to transition to say, how are you going to plan to run 2021's race, right? And so in my mind, I'm on, when it comes to improvements and what to do differently, I'm on 2021. It's a nudge. It's a real shift for me to say, okay, lesson learned, apply it in 2 months, you know? So. Yeah.
Well, think about it this way, because I know that you've done one too. You're done with the swim, and now it's time to get your ass on the bike.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And then
I survived the swim.
Is the
say
run.
It that way.
you survived the swim, and then the fall garden is the run. That's your, you know, at the end of the triathlon, that's it.
Yeah, you know what this all comes down to? It's
that?
The kale, cabbage, collard green fail, man. I don't want to go back to the grow room. I don't want to go back. Forget the other, you know, hundreds, really, of plants that were successful.
So wait a second. Think about it this way, though. If you have that issue, then go buy a damn transplant and stick it in the ground and then seed right next to it.
Yeah, I did.
You know what I mean? Like baby steps. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to just, you know, make plant love to it. You know what I'm saying? Take your time, nurse it.
So,
because it's okay to have something that's difficult to grow. You know what I mean? Like for me, of the seeds I started this year, well, like, okay, lavender, epic fail. My broccoli, failure. I've never had a successful broccoli indoors. And that's another reason why I want to do it, because I want to give it another shot and go for it, because I thoroughly enjoy broccoli. It's kind of difficult to grow, turns out a little bit, you know.
I've read that,
I think from seed. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to grow. So I want to give it another shot. You know what I mean? But I can go ahead and tell you, I have a garden plan, and damn it, that garden plan's coming to fruition if I have to go buy a broccoli transplant and putting it in. But I won't do that until I have to.
Well, are you ready to tell us what you're adding to your fall garden?
My vegetables?
Yeah.
I can't give you numbers off the top of my head, but I can give you, we're going to do leaf lettuces, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, garlic, which is not really, you know, that's kind of winter planting, bok choy, collards, a little bit of kale, a lot of spinach, radishes, more carrots, and you like caught me off guard. I didn't have it pulled up.
No, you're doing pretty.
Why would I? How would I be a good podcast host if I was prepared for that question?
For the episodes you knew we were going to be recording.
Oh, and I'm going in for snow peas again.
Okay.
And I'm planting sweet pea flowers in the fall, and I'm going to do a host of different flowers too, kind of get them started. So, I think that's it. But these are like larger quantities, because at this point too, I don't have anything else to grow for the year.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So like, I'm not growing another summer garden. So like every single space I can.
So tell me this.
Well, like if you're in, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if you're in Texas, and then the reason why I said go ahead is because I was like, I don't really know if there is even like a fall garden. There's like probably a very small window in like zone 9 or in zone 10 or something that you could plant something like that, you know. But so yeah, and even that's a good case because like they're not gonna plant a full blown spring garden taking up everything because they're just gonna have to wipe it all out.
Summer garden, another summer garden, you mean?
Summer garden, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean. If you made it this far in the episode, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so you know, I'm gonna use up everything. There's gonna be a lot of garlic planted too. So
if you have flowers you're doing for fall, let me know what those are. We could talk about it, you know, off the air because
asters.
Oh, I don't have those seeds. Keep on going.
Nasturtiums.
Okay, I have those.
Violets and chrysanthemums of some sort. Maybe
you're gonna start those
sure.
from seed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not the mums that you get from the store that are all pretty and ready.
Yeah.
Those, not those, not those, but the same family.
Okay.
So, am I gonna start those now? I don't think I will. So I'm basically narrowing it down to everything that grows really fast. Quick blooms.
Yeah.
So, and asters, I'm not going to start from seed until spring, but I'm probably going to pick up some plants when they come in, you know?
Okay.
So
I feel like
that makes sense?
It does. I feel like I'm going to need to feed my need for more flowers. Because right now my garden is just green. There's really not a whole lot of vegetables that are being produced, but you know what is producing? Flowers are producing blooms, and those make me happy. So.
Yeah, so basically what I was talking about for next spring, just a little teaser, if you will, is I want to, you know, we talked about landscaping and design in my garden or in my yard, and I can't afford to buy everything to fill the space. So I'm going to grow it all from seed, and it's going to be a huge portion of it is going to start next year.
Okay.
So if I get a greenhouse, then that's it. You know what I mean? So I'm working on that. There's a little bit of setup and space issues. I'm not quite sure how I want to fit in, but if that happens, there's going to be a lot of, because I mean, it's ridiculous to try and start this stuff. You know, I can see buying a couple plants, but like, man, it'd take me 50 years at the way they charge for that stuff to get it going. And I ain't got it. You know what I mean? I can buy $2 worth of seeds and have a whole garden. Yeah. It might only be one flower, but that bitch would be filled.
Okay.
So
this episode, as we mentioned again, we don't talk about them. And I feel like this was a therapy episode, maybe.
For who?
For me, of course. Yeah. So I'm hoping that you all got a benefit out of it as well. The first half, we really dug into the what, the why, the how. And then the other half, I think it was the Batavia, do it.
You've been teetering on it all year.
Yeah.
All year, you've been like on the fence.
Well, you know what? All year, I started off with wanting the spring garden, and I just didn't pull that trigger fast enough. Kept on pushing it off. Then I just knew it's like, I'm going to pour it all into my summer garden. And I'm very proud of where I am now. And my hope is that, you know, things stay healthy and flourish. And it's like, all right. I mean, I'm just, it's the triathlon. It's exactly how you described it, you know? So I basically missed the swim, and I've DNF'd to swim before, you know, I'm like kicking butt on the bike. And now you're like, wait, you have to run, girl. I'm like, damn it. The fall garden is the run, you know? Yeah. I was ready to start working on my swim for next year. Right. You know, so.
But see, think about it though, because you didn't, you know, for whatever reason you didn't do your spring garden. It's actually not a bad thing, because if we do this now, then, you know, in the fall, it's kind of like you're already in the mode. So it's probably going to be a little bit easier, because it's really hard for people. And I mean, and when I say people, I mean myself, to understand that like in these colder temperatures, there are plants that can grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's people in Minnesota, whose gardens are farther along than mine in North Carolina. Like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like Minnesota, like it's brick up there. You know what I'm saying? I got a buddy that lives up there, and it's ice cold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're farther along than I am. So, you know, and when I say that, like, I mean, in particular some of the crops that they're growing now, but like they really hold on tight to their like spring and spring vegetables because they have such a better season for them.
Now, the benefit that I have is I've started. So I'm in the mode now where I'm actually doing garden things. Whereas going back to the spring, coming from winter to spring, it was a lot of planning, a lot of on paper, a lot of, phone notes, a lot of I could do this, that, or the other, but I wasn't outside in it. So that's where I'm at now. Outside in the garden is much more motivating to continue to go with growing and planting and so on. So
I agree with you 100% on that. 102%, as a matter of fact. I agree with you on it.
Okay. Good.
So, I mean, it is important because you're already in the mode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, it's hard in the wintertime after you've been cooped up for a couple months to be like, yeah, I'm going to go outside in the cold and start this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's difficult.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
But, yeah, I mean, is it too early to look for your fall garden? Look forward to it or start planning it at least? I don't think it is.
I don't either.
I think now is the time. Yeah. I think it is a little depressing to think about.
Not for me. I mean, until you introduce starting seeds indoors. Other than that, I was like uber excited about it. But thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. I guess that's my iron fist.
Yeah. That was total sarcasm right then there, though. Thanks for completely raining on my excitement about a fall garden parade. Appreciate it, buddy.
So, you know what time it is? It's time for Batavia to give you the recipe of the day.
It's the recipe of the summer.
Give it to us.
All right.
It's your turn.
So Ben's just going to give us recipes for fruit all summer, and I'm not. So I am going to go with eggplants. I think my last recipe.
Oh.
Yeah. My last recipe was something eggplant related. So I have my notes here. So forgive me if I look to my cue cards. But this is going to be kind of a gooey, kind of roasted, kind of sort of marinated eggplant dish. So we're going to do, and I'd say for like, as a side for 3 or 4 people, we're going to start with 2 eggplants. And I know if you're growing eggplants in your garden, you're going to have 2 eggplants, right? We're going to cut them in like a 1/4 inch thick. So about that thick, that being a 1/4 inch. We're going to, and I always do this, be liberal with sprinkling salt on your eggplant. It's going to be like maybe a tablespoon or 2 of salt, depending on your taste buds. But that kind of veggie really soaks up salt. That's the reason why we're going to be liberal with it. We're going to let that sliced and salted eggplant rest for about 20 minutes. And then we're going to actually come back in and wipe off the moisture because the salt's going to bring out that moisture in the eggplant after about 20 minutes. All right. So we are going to actually, instead of baking it, we're going to grill it. Surprise twist, right? So you want to preheat your grill, whether it is charcoal or gas grill. And I'm going to do another marinade. I think we did this for one of the previous recipes when we were grilling something else. Go back and find it. It's yummy. So we're going to take olive oil, garlic, parsley, oregano, salt, and pepper. And I'll leave the notes for you guys as far as how much of each. I do like 3 cloves of garlic, a couple of tablespoons of parsley if you have it fresh, less if it's dried. Same idea for oregano, couple of tablespoons of it, salt and pepper to taste. You're going to mix up this marinade. And what are we going to do? Slather it on those eggplants. So you're basically going to coat the eggplant with the marinade you've created. I think I did mention olive oil in that. Once you do that, we're going to put it on the grill. You're going to cook it for about 4 or 5 minutes per side. Don't throw your marinade away though, because once you pull it off of the grill, guess what we're going to do again?
What?
Slather that marinade on there again. So this is that kind of dish where you do want to make it again closer to the time you're eating, because that oil again is going to get sucked up into that that eggplant. So you still want it to be moist, and obviously it won't be dry, but you want it to be moist, and you don't want to have to add more marinade on because we've already done 2 rounds of it. But you can sprinkle it with, for garnish if you want. I know you love this, Ben, some parsley just to add a little bit of color, because by then it's going to be like this deep purple and golden kind of color when it comes off the grill, and you add that last coat of marinade. So yeah, grilled eggplant.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't made it yet because I haven't harvested any eggplants. But I am really, because I planted more eggplants than I probably should have. So I'm looking for different ways to use that particular veggie.
Eggplant is, it sucks up, like you said, oil bad, real bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think it holds marinades fairly well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the trick is, and this is the same thing with the zucchini, the trick is getting that moisture out of it to begin with that salt.
Yeah.
And so that...
letting it sweat.
Yeah, that's the term. Hey, you've been watching Chopped, haven't you?
No. Not in a long time. I hate that show. It's good. It's good. They just, they went down a road for a while where they were like, busting out like heads and all kinds of weird stuff. Or wasn't the viewers pick the basket?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. You're obviously at the end of your rope. So, jellyfish, and I think the last one I watched, no, not jellyfish, jelly beans and goat tongue. It just didn't do it for me.
We're wrapping up because right now.
So, yeah, that's on my list. I'm doing it because I actually really like grilled eggplant.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't be giving out eggplant recipes. I got a good one, man.
Well, I mean, there's room for more than one good eggplant recipe.
Are you challenging me to give fruit recipes for the rest of the year?
I'm not doing that because it seems the impossible task. But if you want to take that
hard.
on.
I do want to say something about fruit right now. Yo, peaches are in, baby. Yo, peaches are in.
I don't know if I've ever had them before.
You never had a Georgia peach?
Oh, that's what you said, Georgia peach. I'm pretty sure I have.
Oh, so I went to military school, and one of the master sergeant there was from Georgia, and I was like, Master Sergeant Bailey, where are you from? He like, I'm from Yo-Yo. And he would always talk about Yo-Yo. And I was
that's what I heard. That's what you said. Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah, Yo-Yo. So yeah, Georgia peaches are in, baby. It is my time to shine.
Transitioning off of apples? Good gosh.
I've been done with apples for a minute.
You're transitioning off of
oranges and apples. Yeah. I've been trying. I just like, you know what? I won't eat fruit. I'm done. But no, I mean, after this conversation, do you feel more comfortable about starting a fall garden?
I do. Especially because I don't think if we didn't have this conversation, I wouldn't have even thought to go back indoors. And again, while it may have been painful, you may have drugged me to that point. I think for a couple of the things I want to grow, it makes most sense. So
yeah, it's a hard thing to do, but and I think you're right. People don't really see the benefit of that, but the more I look into it and stuff like that, the overwhelming suggestion is bust out the seed table, go in the grow room, whatever it is, and make it happen.
Another way for me to take advantage of the space I've invested time and money and energy into setting up. So, yeah, exactly.
And plus, I'll just leave it at that. So, do you have anything else you want to add to this whole scenario that has unfolded before these people's eyes today?
No, I appreciate y'all listening. If you guys are on the fence, and this hasn't convinced you, hit Ben up because he has like so many other things in his arsenal that will twist your arm and make you do a fall garden. No.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want everybody to do something that they're comfortable with, and it's like I have a guy that's I talk to regularly. He's a listener of the podcast.
Hey there.
His name is Howie, and I won't give his last name because know, but he sent me pictures of his first radish that he ever grew, his first vegetable he ever harvested, and it was funny. He's like, it ain't shit, but it's mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, you damn right. Oh, hold on, it gets better. Then he sends me a picture of what his wife or girlfriend, I don't know, made with it. And I was like, damn, you took that little ass radish and incorporated it into this bowl of soup.
Absolutely.
And it looked like it came from like a 5-star restaurant.
I love
I was like,
that.
you damn right. That's how you do it. That's how you start a garden. And that's how you eat your first thing you ever pick, damn it. That is it. That was the moment. And I was like, my man.
Absolutely.
He's got it going on.
Here,
Yep,
Howie and girlfriend / wife. Either or and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was so awesome to see. And he was so excited. He was like, it ain't shit, but it's mine. And I was like, you damn right. You know, and it's funny too, because it's a radish, you know what I mean? Like,
it's like almost the smallest of small vegetables that you can get. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And not only, and you know, a lot of people think, and I'm one of those, is most of the way you eat them is raw. Not only did he get the one radish, but then he cooked the damn thing. Yeah. And I was like,
he's changing the game, man.
So, yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. So I love seeing that stuff. But, yeah, I mean, you know, if you guys have any questions, you can hit us up on our usual spots or our new spot.
Yeah, join
Backyard
us
Gardens
there.
Pod on Instagram.
Yeah. Please follow, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you. And then over on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because there are going to be moments that you're going to be listening to this podcast and you're going to say, I wonder what her face looked like when he said that. So you'll be able to find out if you go ahead and go over to YouTube.
I just want to tell everybody that this is not a comedy channel. I promise you it's not, but she's pretty tame since we turned the camera on. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that now.
Because we've always been able to see each other, but now obviously you could see us. And I'm trying to be straight laced, man. It's getting harder and harder.
Her eyes don't cut as bad as they used to, but I can see it coming back each episode. So you guys, you know, if you ever wonder, check it out. And you know, and like I said, we'll break some of these down into different clips and stuff like that. So you know, in case you don't want to hear us randomly talk about something. But yeah, so start your fall gardens. Just think about it. Just consider it. You know,
it could be.
Hey, let's all support Batavia and her new venture this year.
Absolutely. It could be a couple of fall veggies, right? It doesn't have to be a full-on garden, right? So,
no.
Yeah.
It's just like starting a regular garden. You can just put one thing in a pot.
Absolutely.
And you got a fall
there
garden.
It is. Boom.
You put one lettuce seed in, you get a head of lettuce, drop the mic. That's gardening, bitch. So, yeah, you know, if you guys have any questions, hit us up. Stay safe. Don't get dehydrated. Don't be like me. Drink your water. Be smart. Be safe. Don't wear your mask in your car, because you ain't going to get COVID by yourself in your car. And other than that, I'm good.
I'm just going to say, keep an eye on those roly-polies.
Oh.
I'm not trusting them. There's something bigger going on there. That's what I got.
Is it a conspiracy?
Could be. There could be literally someone dropping roly-polies in my garden.
Next episode. We're going to get to the bottom of the roly-poly situation. All right, everybody. Stay safe, and we will talk to you guys later.
See ya.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. You can find us at Backyard Gardens the Movie on Facebook and Backyard Gardener on Instagram. And YouTube is Backyard Gardener, where I'm doing videos showing cooking and building gardens and gardening tips, all kinds of good stuff. And you can find Batavia at...
You'll find me on Instagram at B_BetterGarden. And then you'll find me on Facebook, same name. And then I'm also over on YouTube at Be Better Garden. I am sharing #GardenJoy every chance I get. I hope you enjoy.
So if you have any questions, hit us up on all of our platforms, anywhere you want, and we will be more than happy to help you with what you can. And again, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next time. Cut.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.